Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, just really at the point at which the debate on Boris Johnson's Privileges Committee report should be getting ready to start, I'm going to discuss some of the advanced skullduggery that's been going along, as at least one Boris Johnson supporter fears Labour pulling a fast one. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So very much an ad hoc one here. The debate is going to go on for quite a few hours, and I'm not even going to be in tonight, but I certainly wouldn't be able to report on it at this point because the debate will still be going on. In fact, it will barely have started. I'll be catching up the highlights tomorrow. But I thought it'd be interesting just to know what is preceding it, because it's a very tricky situation, this, for Conservative MPs. They knew that this would be coming at some point. What makes this incredibly difficult for Conservative MPs is that amongst Conservative voters, opinion is divided about Boris Johnson. There are a lot of them, a good, at least half of them, roughly half and half, roughly half of them know Boris Johnson lied. They certainly know he should step back, that he shouldn't really be even in Parliament, certainly not anywhere near the government. But there's another chunk of them that still support Boris Johnson, and they go along with the narrative that he's been stitched up, or that what he did, even if they believe that he did lie, it wasn't that serious, and what are they making a fuss about, and politicians lie all the time type of thing. So if you are a Tory MP and there's a vote on this report, and you vote to support the Privileges Committee, you may annoy some of those Conservative voters who may not vote for you at the next election, or even your the local party members who may deselect you. So then you're not an MP after the next election. Oh dear. So then what you do is, okay, well, I'll vote against it, and it should be safe for me to vote against it because, you know, it will still go through. Many Conservative MPs are not going to vote against it. It's safe enough to vote against it. It's fine. I'll do that. Well, the problem then is, first of all, you look like you're attacking Parliament, and certainly attacking honesty in politics, because everyone can see that Boris Johnson was lying. And you also annoy the voters who will want you to have taken a more principled stance on this. So you lose votes that way. And let us be honest, there's a lot of what you would call safe Tory seats at the moment that are not going to be safe seats in the general election. They're going to be marginals. There are going to be many more Tory marginal seats, to say nothing of the ones already in marginal seats. So this is incredibly difficult, and what is being engineered is believed. We don't know until it's all over. We won't know for hours from the point this video comes out. But Conservatives are trying to engineer a situation whereby there will be no vote at all. There'll be, and so the way this works. And you think, so why wouldn't there be a vote if it's a motion upon which there needs to be a vote? So if a motion is presented to Parliament for which there needs to be a decision by Parliament, at the end of all the debates, the Speaker will stand up and he will ask how many are in favour and how many against. And it's just a few people call out, you know, and the ayes and the nays, basically. And, or noes, really, noes, ayes and noes, get it right. And what will happen is, at the end of this debate, he'll say, all those in favour say aye. There'll be a load of people going, aye. And then he'll say, all those in favour say no. And if all you get at that point is crickets, then the Speaker will take the view, it is clearly the will of the House of Commons that this motion be passed. And there's no need for a vote, because there's no one's objecting. So there is no vote. That is what Tory MPs want to try and encourage here. Because if some people shout out no, then the Speaker will go, well, I'm not sure now. And he'll call division, at which point they all go off and vote. Now, a couple of things here. I don't, in all honesty, know how many people would have to call no for the Speaker to judge it. I was putting my money on Andrew Bridgen maybe turning up and doing it just to be a dick. So for those who don't know, Andrew Bridgen is a former Tory MP. He now dabbles in anti-vax conspiracies. But he may cause trouble. And someone suggested this to me, and I said, no, absolutely, they should not do this. But Brendan Clark-Smith, who is a Boris Johnson loyalist, said something interesting on Twitter. First of all, he says, I am 100% against today's appalling recommendations, I assume he means the Privileges Committee recommendations, I fully intended to vote against it, but I will be standing with my colleagues and not giving others the satisfaction of taking part in their silly games with the division. Now, let's just break this down bit by bit. Not giving the others the satisfaction of taking part in their silly games with a division. So voting in Parliament now is silly games. That's what silly games is. MPs being able to vote on something, right? But again, the reason is because Boris Johnson doesn't want his supporters to force a vote, because what will happen is about, I don't know how many, but it may only be as few. There's only been 8 MPs publicly support Boris Johnson and say that they don't agree with the Privileges Committee in some regard. Some of them agree with the verdicts but don't agree with the punishment, but to some degree there's only been a small number of MPs disagree with the report's conclusions. So the chances are that you'd only get a few people voting against it, like maybe 10. You might get a few more if they're feeling the heat in their local constituency, but it was very likely that Boris Johnson was going to be made to look a bit of a prawn. So he's gotten the word out to his mates, don't trigger a division at all. Don't trigger a division. That way he can claim loads of people would have voted for him and against the report without it being evident. But what Brendan Clark-Smith then goes on to say is, he reads here, whilst the opposition are clearly being whipped to vote aye, ridiculous. They're not. In fact, it would be quite improper. I'm going to actually say, under all circumstances, it would not be proper to whip MPs to vote on a standards or privileges motion. They should always be a free vote, because Rishi Sunak was right in one thing he said earlier today, but I'm not going to talk about him in this video, when he said it's a House of Commons matter, not a government matter. Yeah. So it would always be inappropriate to whip, because it's got nothing to do with party policy. You whip for party policy. You don't whip for parliamentary proceedings like this. But Brendan Clark-Smith then says, if opposition members therefore call a division and then vote aye, they will, according to Erskine, maybe misleading Parliament. Now, what he's suggesting they do here, to force a vote, some Labour MPs might shout out no, as if they're opposed to it. They'll still vote aye, but they'll call out no to force a vote. Now, someone suggested to me a few days ago, would Labour do this? I would actually say they should not do it at all. And the reason is because that actually would be silly games. And this is about respect for Parliament. It's about honesty to a certain extent as well. And it wouldn't be on. He is right in one sense. It would not be honest. It would not be respectful to call out that you oppose the motion and then vote in favour of the motion. I do agree with that. Absolutely nobody should call out no and then just to trigger a vote. But the fact that he would even suggest it, the fact that he would even say it, means that he fears it. Boris Johnson's supporters fear, by fair means or foul, a vote being called, because it will expose the total lack of support in Boris Johnson. Now, as I said, I don't think anyone should call out no unless they intend to vote no. But I wouldn't at all mind seeing some MPs who are minded to vote no calling out no and triggering a vote. But like I said, I don't know how many. If it's just like Andrew, and I kept mentioning Andrew Bridgen, I've got no idea what he's planning to do. He may not even be there. But if he alone called out no, would the Speaker just go, well, that's like one person. I sort of know that there isn't really support for it, so I'll just say that. Or does he have to, if anyone says no? That's what I don't get yet, because usually you don't get many people saying aye or no. As long as you've got some, then division is called. But it could be interesting. But the fear from Brendan Clark-Smith in this tweet that Labour might, and it would be silly games, they shouldn't do it, but that they might, and that it would do more damage to the Conservatives because it forces Tory MPs to vote in favour, to abstain, or vote against. And let us say let's say a vote is triggered, but none of them vote against. Well, as someone from the Mirror said, if nobody votes against, it looks like everyone who abstained voted against, doesn't it? Tricky times, interesting times. But there we go. I'll leave it for there. The debate will be raging for quite a lot of the evening. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.